Today we're at Oak Highlands Brewery, and we're here with the founders of Oak Highlands, Brad Mull and Derrin Williams.
This is definitely the closest brewery we've visited.
Yep, 2.2 miles from our houses.
Yeah, it's definitely right in our neighborhood.
Yeah, we live right across the street from each other, so
right.
It's a nice short drive for us. So you guys, we're here because it's your second anniversary. So tell me, when you think of your second anniversary, what's the first thing that pops in your head, reflecting on the past 2 years?
First off, it's extremely hard to believe it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing for me. I can think back when we first got our CO, first got our building permit, our first batch of beer through the system, and it honestly feels like it was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for us to believe that it's actually, well, for at least me to believe it's been 2 years. So that's the thing that I think. So
yeah,
I agree. One of the things that's crazy is somebody says, "Hey, remember when this happened?" Yeah, like last month.
Right.
No, that was
18 months ago.
Yeah, it was before you opened. It's like, what? No, it's been such a blur. All the things that we've had to deal with to get the place open, to getting into all the places we're in, dealing with the legislative session. That was a new wrinkle that was thrown at us this year, being on part of the guild's legislative committee. So that was it's just been a whirlwind.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, it's been an awesome ride so far.
So tell us your love story. How did the two of you guys meet?
Actually, we met at our wives knew each other ahead of time, but we met through a big group of friends.
Okay.
Through our wives. We started independently brewing, and each of us didn't know it that we were homebrewers. Mm-hmm. And him back in college, and me probably about 10, 12 years ago. And just at a Christmas party together with a bunch of friends, and we were talking about, I was talking to someone about I was going to homebrew the next day, and Brad kind of overheard it and was like, "You homebrew?" And it just kind of went from there. We decided after that we'd get together and start brewing together, just do a couple collaborations together, and it just literally snowballed from there.
So what kind of beers were you guys brewing on the homebrew front?
I think the first one we did was DF Dub.
Yeah, it was DF Dub, the Dunkelweizen.
Together was DF Dub, and then after that it was either IPA or Mustang. I mean, basically the beers we have now are the first beers that we perfected together.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so 1 through 6, All Good, Golden Mustache, DF Dub, Derelict, Freaky Deaky, and Charity. Those are all regular players in our homebrew repertoire for years.
So how many years have passed since you started those recipes to where you guys opened doors? How many years was that?
It was probably 9 years ago.
Oh, okay, wow. So a good 7-year stretch there.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, so we've brewed, as homebrewers, way more than those 6, but
sure,
those are the beers that people kept asking about, and the beers that we wanted to brew again, and the beers that people said, well, when are you going to have this again? And so when we started talking about maybe putting this brewery together, we started looking at the list of all the beers that we wanted to make and the styles that we wanted to make, and started looking at what was available in the marketplace and what we wanted our brewery to be. And these 6 kind of fit right in the wheelhouse of what we wanted our brewery to be, which was a brewery that brews some classic beer styles that people may not have heard about, and to show them that, hey, just because it's a 300-year-old German recipe doesn't mean it's something that's obscure or that you're not going to like. I mean, most people haven't heard of a Dortmunder lager before.
Sure.
But it's one of our best-selling and most refreshing beers that we make. So.
Well, and frankly, not a lot of people do Kolsch's around here either. So
it's definitely caught on as a style. Yeah. People are realizing that a golden ale or a Kolsch is a lighter, easy drinking ale.
Yeah. It's nice for all the hot weather around
here.
Absolutely.
You got it.
Yeah,
so.
Guava Good is one of my go-to beers every summer. I love that beer. Love that beer.
What most people think, with the Kolsch, they think of a blonde, and the German Kolsch's have that little bit of citrus flavor at the end that comes from the Kolsch yeast, and so you can tell if you get a really authentic Kolsch, if it's got that little citrus bite to it. There are some Kolsch's in the area that don't have that for various reasons, but
sure.
True Kolsch's are awesome beers if you can find them.
Yeah, I really enjoy them every time you guys roll that out. It's a welcome style, this time of year especially.
Right.
Yeah, it's perfect. We're sweating our butts off just after getting out of a cold shower even.
Absolutely.
Right. So did you guys, not only judging by demand when you're homebrewers, did you guys take any of your beers to competitions? And how did that fare, if so?
You're talking as homebrewers?
Yeah, just as homebrewers.
Oh, yes. Yeah, for sure. We entered contests with a lot of the other local breweries that are now actually breweries when they were still homebrewers. And so the brew right down at Bishop Arts, when it was at Bishop Arts, because this year they didn't do it, but that was our first one, and our first competition we took People's Choice and a few other medals as well, just for the beers.
Yeah.
So that was still back when Deep Ellum was serving down there, Lakewood was serving, Four Corners. It was right before all those guys actually started their breweries. So knowing that our beers, on the homebrew side could still compete with them, and that's when we started thinking that, hey, maybe we could do this as well.
Yeah. So you guys, are you able to claim victory over Lakewood and Deep Ellum? Just say trounced you in this competition?
No.
So the first year that happened, those guys were on the verge of opening their brewery, so they weren't actually competing with us, but they were there.
I see.
And then the next year, they were all judges. And then the next year, we took 4 out of the 5 categories.
Oh, wow.
So we were
Awesome.
really excited about that. Now, the cool part about it, well, I don't know if it's cool, but the part about it for us that was made us want to do this even more is every time we enter a competition and people would ask us, well, where can I buy your beer?
Right.
So there's obviously some contingent of the population that wanted to try the styles that we were making. And it just took us a little longer than some of the other guys to get off the ground. We're both married and had young kids at the time, and both have had really good jobs, and had to figure out how to navigate this and make this business work with our current family situations. It took us a little bit, but we got there, and we're glad to be here.
Are you both 100% in the brewery now, or do you still?
Just me.
Brad
Just
is
you.
full-time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still have my my full-time paying job.
Oh, okay.
But I'm here a lot.
It's a lot to balance.
Yeah.
How is the work-life balance now that you have your own brewery? I guess if you're working 2 jobs, that's going to be tough.
It's a tough juggling act for me.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of scheduling and just figuring out, where I need to be when.
Yeah.
Family life obviously is a big one too. I've got two kids and Brad's got 3, and obviously both married, and making sure that we have time for them as well is a big deal.
Do you ever think about making your family time, having them come up and clean the place for you, or
Actually,
make some
they
beer?
do. My
Scrub tanks
son,
and stuff like
Scrub
that.
tanks.
My 9-year-old, almost 10-year-old son, I pay him $5. He comes up here and helps
Nice.
me,
There you go.
do a little bit of work.
My
So.
my 11-year-old cleans kegs. It's
Oh.
as my dad said when I started working for him at 8 years old, it's not child labor if it's your own child.
That's true.
And that is absolutely the law. So
It's cheap labor, but
Sure.
as far as a work balance, I was a lawyer before I did this, so this is absolutely a step.
it's going to be a big relief.
It's a,
Yeah.
but it's,
Yeah.
it's a step down. The difference is I don't have
He's
to worry
still a
about,
reforming
I don't have to worry
lawyer.
about other people's problems. We have
Yeah.
to worry about ours. So it's definitely more balanced. I get to see my kids and my family a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
But at the same point in time, it's not any less work or stress.
Sure.
It's just we're trying to build something here. And
Be a lot more enjoyable, at least.
Oh, it's absolutely a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
You just you just work as hard as you can and try to
Yeah.
make this thing as best as it can be.
Although I would assume that history helps with some of these legal challenges that have come up recently. I know, like Michael Petticolas has been one of the big leaders in the area to help with some of this.
and that's what the legislative committee I talked about earlier
Right.
coming in. That was a big help for us, getting down there and having somebody else with a legal background talking with some of these legislators about what the implications of the laws that they were trying to pass and the one that did pass were. So.
I think it's been, having Brad serving on the legislative committee has been good. It's been real good for the whole industry, for the state, because you need voices like that, people that are lawyers that have been lawyers for 18 years, 19 years, and not just some guy that owns a brewery. A guy that's actually practiced law and understands law. That's a big deal, and that's why Michael was great, and that's why I think Brad's going to be awesome.
Yeah, that's a real boon to the Texas scene, because we know just from the distributorship to their lobbyists alone, being kind of oppressive to the little guys especially, not to speak of the legislature itself.
Well, and just Texas' view that appears to be very oppressive to beer in particular. More than wine or liquor or anything else. It seems like they have very specific laws.
I'll say this: the first off, the brewery owners in this state are fantastic.
Absolutely.
The people that are part of the Craft Brewers Guild that make their voices heard and are there at every meeting and are trying to make sure that that the best interests of the beer community are going forward. The folks that we have in Texas are as good as anywhere in the world in terms of their business minds, their legal acumen, and just looking out for the greater good of all of us. Now, that doesn't always translate into getting what we want or even stopping what we don't want. And the biggest part of that is the fact that if you look back at the last legislative session, the numbers aren't out for this session, but the session before that, the 2 big distributor lobbies gave over $7 million to the legislature, where the Craft Brewers Guild gave $200,000 or something ridiculous like that. The biggest thing that we've learned, and that I think everyone has come to the realization of, is that we can't compete with the dollars. You can. The legislators can talk a big game about saying how they say small business first or Texas open for business and that sort of thing, but the reality comes that doesn't win them elections. Money does, and they Sure. For example, every state representative that represents, there's 3 of us that represent this brewery right here, and our state senators all voted for the bad bill that was passed this year, despite incredible lobbying by myself and other people who went down there 4 or 5 times.
Which is supposedly supposed to help people around your size or smaller, right?
Yeah,
that's what they claim.
No, it's a negative bill for everything all the way around. It's a cash grab by the distributors. So
I think it's going to be one of those deals we're going to have to educate the public, and I think that's and have them understand what it means.
Well, the funny thing about that is when you ask the public, when you ask them to sign a petition, are you for this or against it? Overwhelmingly, they're against it.
Right.
Overwhelmingly. The problem is the legislature, they don't care about that when they're already in session.
Or they don't know about it.
They'll worry about re-election when it's time to worry about re-election.
Right.
So it's going to be an interesting scene for the next couple of years, because you're going to see, I believe, my hope is you'll see the Craft Brewers Guild be more outspoken, more vocal. You'll start seeing a lot bigger push from us. And hopefully that'll get some folks educated about what's going on, and hopefully we'll get some things changed. If not, at least you'll have it'll be more, like you said, they'll have a better educated public about what is actually going on in the state legislature.
Well, it doesn't help things that I think it's our governor, the Senate governor, that I can't remember if he's a former distribution executive, is his right-hand man now, and
I don't know.
I mean, I forgot his
Wouldn't
name.
surprise me.
Yeah, but
Well,
he was a former distributor exec, and is now his right hand man.
For the time being, it's going to be the status quo. Bad law happens, craft breweries sue, craft breweries win, and the law goes away. For example, you've got the whole Petacolis lawsuit about, or I'm sorry, it was Petacolis about selling our distribution rights, which was a right that we lost in 2013. Well, he won that lawsuit. It's on appeal, but they won it, and they won it handily. We've got Deep Ellum's lawsuit that's pending for the sale of beer on premises. Hopefully we'll win that one. It should be any time now that we should get a ruling on that one, or a trial. So hopefully it'll come down in all of our favor.
This new one, giving the distributors a cut of sales on premises, really seems seems bad.
It's very mob-esque.
And think
little protection racket.
Yeah, I understand the entirety of that bill. They wanted to outlaw any tap room for anybody who had affiliation with somebody who made more than 250,000 barrels of beer.
Right.
Okay. But then guess what the compromise was? Okay, we're going to grandfather in the ones that are already here and give them the right to open up 2 more. But Oscar Blues, who is completely independent, it's not connected with Mass Beer at all, they don't get that right. They're not grandfathered in. They can't have a tap room.
Wow.
Yeah, but
insane.
Yeah, but AB, of course, and Coors.
AB and Coors.
There was some backdoor talks.
Yeah.
I
they get a right to 2
guarantee it.
more. So it's really shady, really awful, and no matter what we said or what we did, it was like
just deaf ears,
running in a hamster wheel. I mean, this is crazy.
Right. That's really frustrating.
Yeah, but you know what? We're still here.
Yeah,
we'll be here tomorrow, and we'll keep fighting. So.
How much time do you think every time you have to go lobby for your side or spend time in the legislature, how much time do you spend doing that, would you say? I mean, is it 8 hours a day for a few weeks, or how does it work?
It's a day or 2 here every month or so. So, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, in the last year and a half, it was probably close to 2-3 weeks worth of time, but it's necessary.
Still, though.
It's necessary, 100% necessary.
It sucks you have to waste even that much time.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're meeting with reps individually, too, to talk to them. And
the way the guild works is we have a guild. Everybody who's a voting member has a right to participate in the legislative committee. Not everybody does. We go down there and we have a legislative meeting, and then after the meeting we break up and we go try to hit certain reps. And obviously the reps that represent us we want to hit, but we also go along with other folks who may not have ever met their reps before, or may not feel comfortable speaking by themselves, or just want a little extra push. So we go around and try to talk to as many people as we can. We have a lobbying firm, and they talk to them more than we can. So.
Do you? I mean, obviously don't name names, but did you ever feel like you had somebody on your side that was a state rep, and then they flipped on you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without names,
Yeah.
All
House of Cards.
All of them.
That's so terrible. Like, that's part of the problem I have with the state is like, oh, we're supposed to be all small business, but it's like, hey, big business here, have everything.
Well, I will say this: one of our legislators went to his office 3 times, and 3 times he said, "Absolutely, I'm sponsored a bill in your favor. I will vote against this, vote against it." And when it came down for the vote, he voted present.
Oh, nice.
That's terrible.
It's also rough around here, given the fact that Texas only meets every 2 years.
It
takes forever to get anything done.
Yeah.
That's true. But
meanwhile, TABC is out there actively cracking down on everybody, whether it's legitimate or not.
TABC's got their own issues. And,
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
They're up for sunset next year, or next legislative session. So
Oh, really?
That should be interesting.
Interesting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I thought it was interesting that who was it that released? They got a label approved called Cluster F.
Yeah.
That was released the same week that all these reports came out about their own ineptitude. It's pretty awesome that it got through, and they're like, well, it's a free speech issue. If somebody wants to buy it, they can buy it. So I guess good on them for once.
Look, yeah, but honestly, the TABC is, in my opinion, is a necessary entity. We need somebody out there that's policing, because if you don't, it'll be the wild, wild west, and the things that we all already complain about when it's small beer versus big beer will just become even more so.
Yeah, I agree. They're a necessary evil. It's just I wish they a little more logic.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
A little play into it.
To bring it kind of more back to the brewery,
Sure.
what ties do you guys have to Lake Highlands specifically? Have you lived here a while, or
Yes.
did you want to open up a neighborhood type brewery, and at least start that way?
Yes. So we both live in Lake Highlands in an area called Oak Highlands Estates. So
okay.
hence the
That's
name.
where the Oak
That
Highlands
answers
comes
my second question.
I'd never heard of that. Yeah.
It's so if you know where it's right off Royal and between Greenville and Abrams. It's right next to Harry S. Moss Park.
Sure.
Oak Highlands Estates. That's where we both live. We've lived there. I've lived there for 10 years. He's lived there for 9 years. And that's where we started actually brewing together in our neighborhood. And so I don't know if you've ever naming a business and naming beers are probably 2 of the hardest things you've ever done.
Yeah.
But we ran in circles with all different kinds of names, and it all came back to where we started brewing together. And so that's where the name came. That's where the Oak Highlands Brewery came
Plus
from.
potential trademark violations and all that jazz. You have to, I'm sure,
Yeah.
you have to worry about like, oh, we got a perfect name. Crap. Somebody.
Exactly. Well, that's the way beer names are becoming anymore.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's crazy.
We had to get a waiver from our homeowners association to actually.
Really?
That was the
name our
only
brewery.
person that only group that we had to get a waiver from was our homeowners association.
Interesting.
Crazy.
They wanted our money, so they gave it to us. So
That makes sense.
We just went ahead and just gave him a beer. So
Right.
Gave him, some beer.
Did you give them to waive the HOA fees with beer?
no, their money.
That'd be nice.
All about the money.
They want the money.
So 2 years ago, I guess, how long did it take you to open the brewery? I mean,
Gosh, we started 2014 and
2014. I think we had
we started raising money in May and June of 2014.
right.
Signed the lease in November. 2014.
It was a little later than that, but I think we had all of our plans, and I think I think that's right.
Because we got the CO in February.
No, we got our construction permit
Construction
in
permit
February.
that's right.
And then our CO was in, I think it was late June, so July 16th was our opening of 2015. So the reality is, from literally when we had our money raised to when we opened the doors was almost a year.
yeah, that sounds about par for the course for everybody else we've talked to.
Yep.
So what was the aha moment? You're like, we've been doing these home brews. When did you're like, for you, I have to quit my job and go do this.
This stuff is
or
definitely good enough.
Someday you will be able to
put
quit
into
your
a
job
brewery.
and do this. So, what was that moment, the sparky moment that?
I think for me, I think it was never wanting to look back and say, I wish I had done that. And we kind of reached the point in our lives where if I didn't do this now, I likely wasn't going to be able to do it in the future.
Right.
Obviously you always could do it, but I'd been a partner in our law firm I was with for a decade, and it just seemed like the right point to say, you know what, I'm going to break off and give this the best try that I possibly can. And I think the aha moment came 4 years or so before, when we were at competitions or at events with our beer and having people saying, man, we really want to buy this, how can we get it? And so working towards that over the next few years to raise the money, figure it out, was all kind of part of one long but fulfilling process, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
I mean, I'd say the same thing. I mean, it's the aha moment definitely was. I mean, if you want to call it a moment, is when people always consistently asking us where they can get our beer, and just the public not knowing. Guys, we're homebrewers. This is a homebrewing guy.
Yeah.
Speaking of beers, do you guys need one?
I'm good right now, thank you.
Right,
You want to pause for a second?
No, I was just going to text Eric.
Okay.
No, okay.
Text the bartender.
It's advantage being an owner.
That's right. That's right. He should know better. He should come over and try.
Yeah, you know some waiter service here?
But I mean, I think there was throughout the whole process. Like I said, honestly, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, was getting our construction permit.
Yeah.
And I mean, we took a picture, and I mean, you can go back on our Facebook or whatever and find that picture. Brad and I are standing right there, in that right there with a picture. This is all carpeted. This is all has sectioned off into office space, and we were fixing to blow it all out. But that was our we got our construction permit, and we were able to put that right there in the right there in the glass window at the front door, and actually start demolishing this place and making it what we wanted.
Yeah, that was the moment. I was like, oh shit, it's real.
Yeah, no, it's not as oh shit, it's real. It's I mean, it's that we're now taking all this money that we have accumulated, and we're really going to start using it.
Yeah.
We're like, there's really no turning back at this point in time, right?
Could just run away to some third world country and live like a king. But
you're right, yeah.
So tell us about the challenges. Once other than the oh shit moment,
right.
Once you got past the construction phase,
probably raising money. I'm sure was an initial issue.
Actually,
was that easy?
It
wasn't easy. I mean, it's never easy to ask somebody for money.
Sure, fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, look, the business plan was hard for us. We were trying to run our own lives and stuff.
Thank you, Eric. This is Eric Klein, our taproom manager.
Come on, Wavalik, please, sir.
You didn't text me.
So the raising money, I thought was not that actually that writing the business plan was difficult for us. Once we had it out there, we already had people before they didn't care about seeing the business plan. They just were ready to write a check, and it took a little while for them to wrap their heads around everything. But I think we were fully funded in 2 months when we got done.
2 months, yeah.
And then we were like, okay, now we got to find a building, and I mean there was all those things that happened, but. Since we've been opened, I mean, there's challenges every day. I mean, I'll say this: if anyone that's worked at a brewery or owned a brewery or anything, I mean, there's always something new every day at a brewery. I mean, you name it, something's breaking down. Something you got to MacGyver something together, or figure it out. Thanks, Eric. And that's just how it operates, and that's just the reality. There's always something. Whether it's brand new equipment or whatever, you always got to figure something out.
Yeah, something breaking down.
And that's homebrewing in general. Quite frankly, I mean, even on the homebrew side, I mean, there's always something different that happens when you're brewing. So
sure.
Yeah, I don't know. One of the biggest things that surprised me about this whole issue is how many kegs we needed. I mean,
I was just thinking that. I was like, I should say that.
One of the things we did during that immensely long time it took us to get from homebrewers to professionals, we went around and we talked to everybody that had a brewery that we could get to in the state of Texas and asked them, what did you do right? What did you do wrong? What are some insights you could give us? And the biggest piece of advice we got was from Adam DeBauer at Austin Beer Works, and it was there are 2 things you should throw out of your vocabulary, and one of them is surely it can't take this long, and 2 is surely it can't cost this much money.
Right.
So be prepared. Everything costs $1,000, no matter if it's one little part that breaks or the next amount of kegs you need. Everything starts at $1,000. So we had to learn that aspect of it. But one thing that nobody told us and that we didn't figure out was how much cooperage you need, how many kegs. So we started with 500 kegs. We have 2,500 now.
Wow.
I mean, it's insane how much you need. So we're constantly hunting kegs. We're looking for them because if you have beer in the tanks and you can't get it out, it doesn't do you any good.
Sitting there wasting money.
What we've learned is the rule of thumb is if you're self-distributed, it's five kegs per tap you have out in the market.
Okay.
And it is what it is.
Yeah. To that front, some breweries want to just kind of service their own local home area and kind of be like the neighborhood brewery and that kind of thing. I know you guys are obviously a distributor. You go to different areas and you're canning and kind of it's not just a local tap room.
Right.
So how big do you guys think you might project Oak Highlands at some point? Are you trying to go beyond Texas? Do you want to just cover DFW? Do you want to cover all of Texas? Do you have any plans on that front specifically now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say fiercely. Right now, we're fiercely independent. We self-distribute. We want to self-distribute as long as we can, as long as it's feasible. And one of the main reasons that we're only in DFW right now is the status of the law. The law says that as a production brewery, and even more specifically as a brewer, with a brewer's permit, that where we can only make ale and not beer. So I don't know if you guys know the distinction of that.
Oh, okay.
So there's two separate licenses in Texas. There's a manufacturing permit and there's a brewer's permit. Manufacturers only can make 4% by volume or less, by weight or less, which equates to roughly 5% by volume or less. A brewer's permit can only make 4% by volume, by weight or up, which is roughly 5% or more. So the law says if you make, that's the distinction.
Right.
Manufacturers make beer, brewers make ale.
Interesting.
The law says that if you make beer, which is what all of the mass-produced folks make, you can store your beer outside of the county in which it's made. But you can't do that for ale. So in other words, if we want to service Houston as a self-distributing brewery, our trucks have to leave our dock at some point early morning, drive all the way to Houston, make the sales that we can make, and get all the way back to our dock before midnight.
Wow.
So it's almost an impossible.
Yeah, that's very meticulous. Yeah.
It's almost an impossible thing to do without having at least some dedicated trucks and drivers and that sort of thing. So for us, without speaking out of turn here, right now we're focused on being as big as we can in this market. We're down in Waco every now and again. We're out in East Texas a little bit. Those are places we can get to comfortably. But we are and will entertain going out of state because it's easier for us to go out of state than it is to go to Austin or to Houston or to San Antonio.
So ridiculous.
Which is sad, right?
Yeah, that's pretty silly.
I mean, at what point do you think you'll consider distributorship?
Not even in our thought right now.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have they
if we go out of state because you have to.
Yeah.
Sure. So I mean, it's true. Yes, we have talked to people, but it's just not. It's one of those deals that, like Brad said, we're fiercely independent, and I just don't. I have just a queasy feeling.
Yeah. With the current Texas laws, once you let it go, it's gone.
The queasy feeling you have in your stomach, and you know something's not right.
Right.
I get it.
I mean, the reality is you'll never say never.
Yeah.
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't want to come across saying that we would never do it, but right now we don't. If we're out of state, we have to be distributed. So that would probably be the next step. I think at least for us to wait and see if we can get something to happen in the next legislative session that will at least let us know whether we can store our beer outside of the county in which it's made. If that's the case, then it'll probably be a little bit longer before we consider a distributor. I think I would rather buy a truck and hire a driver and make him or ask him to drive to Houston every other day than sign with somebody right now. That's just kind of how we feel.
So kind of along that line, are you guys at capacity right now for production?
We're tank locked.
Yeah.
Okay.
We do have more tanks on the way. They'll be here at the end of this month. But yeah, we've been tank locked for the past month.
Okay.
And so we tried to get ahead of it, and it's tough to get 60-barrel tanks in right now. 60 barrels is the hot one, and but so end of this month we'll have 2 more 60 barrels.
So
that's our second expansion.
Yeah, so we started with 5 30-barrel fermenters on a 30-barrel system, and then end of July, August last year, we added 2 60-barrel fermenters and a 60-barrel bright, and we got 2 more 60s coming. So that'll help us a little bit.
I mean, the one thing that we hear from other brewers all the time is we'll say, "Hey, man, we're out of this, we're out of that," and they'll go, "Oh, yeah. Get used to it," and it's like we don't like it, but we understand that it's one of those process where it's like it's tough to figure out because it's not like you just go brew something and it's ready the next day, right?
Yeah, right. Sure.
It's 2 to 4 weeks, and I mean, heck, the great example is our guava good. We've been behind on it all summer long.
Yeah.
We sell it out. It's available on Monday. We're out of it on Thursday, and then we don't have more for a week and a half to 2 weeks, and then we're out of it. I mean, we can't catch up.
Yeah,
which is a great problem to have, but it's still a problem. And the frustrating part for us, just a little inside baseball on this, is we agonized over how much guava do we buy this year?
Yeah.
How much are we planning on making based on last year's sales? What do we think we're going to do? And we thought by coming out with a 30-barrel batch and having another 30-barrel batch ready 2.5 weeks later, we'd be well stocked. No issues.
Yeah.
We literally released that 30-barrel batch on a Monday, and on a Thursday, that following Thursday, 4 business days later, we were completely sold out. And that's happened 3 other times.
It's a great problem to have,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, but it's happened every time. And
Yeah.
we're like, we just can't.
We can't
get
get
on
ahead
top
of it,
of
huh?
it.
Can't literally
Yeah.
can't get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And it's just
Which is great, but
But it's got to be frustrating
Hey,
from
guess
a
what?
brewer's point
Next
of view.
year we're gonna be ahead of it.
Sure you will.
we got our Oktoberfest coming out of the gate. On,
right.
I think we're ahead of the Oktoberfest. We'll see what happens, but I think we're ahead of it.
31st, but we've already got one batch that's going to be canned next week, I think, and then we'll have another batch in the tank
60 barrel.
soon. So we're going to be on top of that one. I hope. So
So when you need to expand, so the investors who invested in you in the first round, were they people that you knew, or did you approach investment firms? Or
No, it's individuals, mostly family and friends, a little bit of spin-offs beyond that. But yeah, there's no institutional money, anything.
So when you need to buy new tanks like this, are you pulling out of the company's funds now, or are you still going back to the investors?
It's not,
yeah, mostly we're self-funding right now.
Okay.
When we do a bigger expansion, we'll probably go back to our investors. But the things that I always heard and the things that I always saw as a lawyer representing businesses is that debt kills. So we try to be as debt-free. Investors obviously want to get paid back, but they don't necessarily get to get paid back.
Right.
Banks want to, and they get to.
They will get paid
So
back.
they're number one.
Right.
So
Yeah.
we try as hard as we can to keep any debt that we have to a bare minimum. That would, if worse comes to worse, we can write a check and get it paid off. But
Which I think we've seen other breweries in the area, not to name names, I won't name names, but some of the others, I think they got ahead of themselves and they went broke just trying to get everywhere at once rather than like yourselves and Petacolis
Ended up having
keep
to
it
retract
tight.
a lot.
Right.
Yeah, keep it tight. They had to retract or just go out of business. And you guys in Petacolis keep it in tight and try to do as much as you can by yourselves without
and
extending yourselves.
There's a massive downside to that. I mean, it
Yeah.
sucks that our little canning line does 12 cans a minute.
Yeah.
And it's labor intensive, but and we apologize profusely to our guys, including myself this morning, who was running the canning line. It sucks. I get it.
Yeah.
But
We'll get there.
But
We'll
we
get
have
there.
it.
Sure.
We have it. It works. And the flip side of that is, it's another $125,000 to get a bigger, faster one. So,
Right.
For us, I'd rather put that money to work for new tanks, more kegs, better trucks, better things for and
I mean, we all have around here. Honestly, we all have our wants and our needs, and
Every single person here has a
every
list.
single person has their own list, and Brad's list, I can guarantee you, is not the same as my list, and Matt, our head brewer's list, is guaranteed not the same as Brad or mine, and we just got to work within the bounds and figure out what once we do. Obviously, since we were tank locked, it's like, guess what?
Yeah.
We know we need tanks,
Right.
so that's that's one. So.
Sure. To that end, with the tank lock issue that you mentioned, I know from what I've read, Derrin, you're more of the barrel age guy that kind of pushed that realm a little bit more.
Absolutely, he's responsible for all.
It
of them.
was my idea to. I guess you could say
Okay.
that. I wouldn't call myself a barrel master or anything, but
Right.
it was.
But
it was,
just out of you two, it seems like it's
Tell you
more-
exactly what happened. He said, let's do some barrel aged stuff. I said, that's fantastic. I can't wear that hat. You wear that hat and become a master at it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
everything that he's done and put out with Matt and everybody else's work back there, in my opinion, has been spectacular. So I can't thank him enough for taking on that.
It was one of those
task
that
and doing it well.
I'd wanted to do forever as a home brewer, but I mean, when you're a home brewer and you're making 10-gallon batches, it's not easily feasible, right? You can,
Yeah.
I knew all along that we had styles that would do well. So.
Sure, yeah, all that makes sense. Just speaking to other brewers in the area, getting barrels seems to be kind of an issue at times. Was just wondering if you guys have run into that at all, or if it's been pretty simple for you.
It's been pretty easy, honestly.
Okay.
So, the way we started is we started with our chump change. We did 4 wood barrels, so roughly 7 BBLs of beer. Our first, that was our first one we did.
We reached out and looked at all these different whiskeys, and Wild Turkey was available. And we're like, hell yeah, kicking chicken. Let's put it in that thing.
Yeah,
Sure.
And so those were the first 4, and then we always knew our the triple would, Freaky Deaky would be awesome barrel aged. We'd actually age some beers in bombers ourselves when we were homebrewers, and I mean those things, they just got better and better. So knowing that they can last time-wise, knowing that putting them in barrels, they could be even more awesome, right? So,
Makes sense, yeah.
So that's what we did the white wine barrels next, and then knew we were going to do red wine barrels with triple. then vanilla porter. And, I mean, it's literally barrel aging stuff is one of those deals that just snowballs. It snowballs. I mean, I think we now
And
have.
before you know it, you have.
I think we got 90 to 100 barrels, something like that in house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Derrin,
So
my favorite thing to hear from Derrin as well. We got to buy some more barrels and more barrel racks. All right, because it's such a delayed gratification, and
It is.
It is an investment. And
I told him I think I told Brad, it was probably about a month or so ago, I said, do you realize how much beer we have, like, sale-wise in barrels right now? And I told him the number, and he's like, he just shook his head, and he's like, Jesus. I said, but remember, we're going to get that money. We're going to get that. It'll be okay, Brad. Don't worry about
For the
it.
people not watching the video, we're actually sitting here flanked by Jack Daniel's barrels
That's
and Woodford Reserve over there.
That's right.
some Witherspoon around the corner.
And Witherspoon
There's
too?
Witherspoon.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing that we did on the Jack Daniels, they're filled with chump change, or Imperial Black Saison. And this year, actually, we got approached by the Jack Daniels guys, and they provided us with the barrels. They told us, you know, they interviewed us, came through, found out what beer we would want to put them in.
Yeah, back up a sec. This is the first time Jack Daniels has ever released their bourbon barrels to breweries before.
As
cool.
labeled barrels.
Yeah, well,
As labeled barrels.
98% of their barrels go overseas to Scotland for Scotch.
Oh, okay.
And then the barrels that they do release are either not branded or have been drained and are completely dry and are given to like bars like Whiskey Cake to have just a barrel laying around. So this year they picked 4 breweries. Just happened to be that they picked the one area of the United States, Dallas, to do this, the pilot program for the first year. So it's us, Lakewood, Community, and RAR. Those are the 4 breweries in the United States that got Jack Daniels barrels.
Nice.
And it's a really cool deal.
It's a cool co-branding deal where they're allowing us to use their name, and we're going to do beer releases at restaurants with the whiskey releases as well. And I mean, it's going to be a cool deal. It's a really cool deal.
Yeah, it sounds a little like Deep Element Jameson.
Very similar. Yes.
Very similar.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully there's a little more available than they had for theirs, especially that first round.
That'd be nice,
Same day it was gone.
We have 60 barrels, 60 BBLs.
So I think we have 32 of wood barrels, somewhere right around there, full right now, and we're looking for sometime in December, mid-December likely release.
And the cool thing about it is we're actually going to, for the first time ever, put some of these barrel-aged beers in cans, so they'll be available to take home
that'll be
off-premise
cool.
sales as well. We were hoping that we would have the ability to sell them out of our tap room, but it looks like we'll have to go through
Right, of course,
retailers.
yeah.
So is barrel aging, from a sales perspective, is it because everybody has some sort of barrel age, something or other, at least most breweries do.
For the most part.
Is it in your mind, is it more of a sales leader or is it more of a cred issue? Like I can do a barrel aged beer, I'm going to make it awesome. Or is it both?
I mean, I'll say this: the barrel-aged beers are fairly easy for our sales guys to sell. I mean, they almost sell themselves. But it's you have to start with a beer that can be barrel-aged, right? You can't just throw anything in there and expect it to do well. It's got to be perceived well in the market, and that's the reality. And I mean, the base beer, all of ours obviously have a base beer. It's not just barrel-aged this or whatever. We have the vanilla porter, and then we have the bourbon barrel-aged vanilla porter. Same deal with chump change. Same deal with freaky deaky. We're actually also in some red wine barrels. We have Hypocrite, our spring saison. So that'll be released, I think, next month or so.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, going back, it's no longer, as a brewery, it's no longer good enough to say you're local. It's no longer good enough to say you're craft. I mean, you have to put out an exceptional beer every time you put something out. And it's almost that same way with barrel-aged now. Everybody's got a barrel-aged beer, but if you don't start with a good product going in, there's no amount of wood or bourbon or rum or tequila or whatever you're putting it in that's going to make that beer better. Thankfully, for the Dallas-Fort Worth market, everybody's coming out with some awesome stuff right now, and I hope it continues.
Yeah, so you guys would say there's a lot of emphasis on having a marquee, because I would say, I mean, from my perception, maybe Freaky Deaky is your marquee beer. I know you guys have a good.
So you have a good
overall,
perception.
Yeah, exactly.
It's our best seller, but we don't.
Right.
But we don't push it any. I mean, honestly, we don't push that beer over our other beers.
Right.
I mean, you're going to find your own level in the marketplace, and people are going to find the beer that they like. And I mean, for just say this. I mean, our Derelict IPA won a gold medal at Best Selling Brew Fest in Texas. It won a blind taste test against other IPAs in Dallas, Fort Worth, but it lags behind sales of Mosaic and Deep Elm IPA, which are two phenomenal IPAs. People just get into the rut where they say, I know this product. I may venture out over here, but I'm always going to go back to this one. And if you can have a beer like that can be their home base, man, what else can you ask for?
Sure.
Yeah.
So we love the fact that people love Freaky Deaky, and we just invite them to try our other beers too.
Yep.
How hard is it to make yourselves distinct in a market that is somewhat crowded in Dallas and is only going to get more so with more breweries on the way, and maybe we're reaching capacity, at least for the area, I don't know, but how hard is it to stand out in this area?
Number one, you got to put a good beer out, right?
Sure.
I mean, that's the concern I think we have here in North Texas with right now. Is my opinion is that, I don't know all the breweries that are coming online over the next 6 months. I know the names, but I don't know that I've had their beers, and I just hope that they're putting out a good product so they don't muddy the waters a little bit.
Right.
But I mean, for us, honestly, when we started, it just happened that we had no one. There were one or two breweries maybe that had a triple. No one had a Dunkelweiss. One Kolsch. No Dortmunders.
Dortmunder?
Yeah. Obviously, everyone has an IPA, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, but we had to do that, right?
So
But-
that was the one thing that we did to distinguish ourselves. When you walk into a bar and you look at their tap wall, and and Blood and Honey was the only quasi wheat beer that anybody had, or Shock Top. So
Right.
it was easy for us to go and say, well, look at this Dunkelweizen. Like, what's a Dunkelweizen?
Right.
You show it to them, and it's a dark beer, but it tastes like a Hefeweizen. And for the longest time, and probably still is, that was our second best seller because it's just such a unique beer. When you get into summer and you say, well, I got a lager, and for the longest time, for example, I'll say in Collin County, I know in the first year of our sales, because I was a salesman, I go in there and like, man, we just got people to stop drinking lagers, trying craft ales. And you want to put a craft lager on? It's going
Right.
to blow their minds. So Dortmunder didn't sell all that well for the first year, but it's insanely popular.
We've been
right
running
now.
out of it all summer
Yeah,
long.
so, in terms of distinguishing yourself, you can do it in a number of different ways. There are some breweries that are making some really great weird beers, and I don't want to say weird like as a bad thing. It's a great thing. It's just some variations on some styles that nobody's seen before, or that they're just doing them really, really, really well. Martin House doing their IPA Friday IPA series. That was a hell of a way for them to distinguish themselves. Plus, they made one of my top 5 beers all time, Salty Ladies. So,
Oh, yeah. Salty Lady's great.
You know, finding a beer style that not everybody makes
Yeah.
and getting ahead of that is a good way to distinguish yourself. But just making a solid beer, and again, like I said, it's going to find its own level. If you're making a good beer, people are going to find it. People are going to buy it.
And that's also got to be the great thing about beer festivals, in the area. We got Big Texas and not Untapped anymore. What's it called? Index Fest.
Right.
Is that you have people that go to those and then they find a new beer that they may latch onto.
Right.
I mean, that's got to be a great feeling, especially when somebody's like.
And German
blown
style
away.
seem kind of wide open anyway. I mean, other
Yeah.
than Franconia, there's not a whole lot, of people that were pushing into that into that
Right.
realm. So
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
one of the things, that, like I said earlier, what we were trying to do is like, this is not your father's Lowenbrau.
Right.
This isn't the German style beer that you thought of when you were sneaking them from your parents when you were 14 years old. Not that we did that, but
sure.
Not that there's anything wrong with it.
nothing wrong with that either. But that's another way you can distinguish yourself, is find a style that they may like, oh, okay, Helles, Community's Helles. Helles are amazing beers. Nobody made one. They made one and they're doing great with it. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Brad wanted to make one forever, and then when they came out with one, Brad was like,
Well, do
It's all right. They do it well. So
we've made one
All right,
before.
good on
We
you,
have.
Jamie.
do you feel any pressure to follow the trends in the area? I mean, not just the area,
No,
but
I mean,
nationwide.
no.
Or do you just make the beer you want to make?
our sales guys come to us weekly. When are we making a New England IPA? When are we
Yeah.
making a double IPA?
Yeah.
When are we making this beer? When are we making that beer? And the reality is,
It's
we're gonna make one of the cool things that I think about our brewery is everybody who works for us brews their own beer.
Yeah.
They brew a pilot batch, they put it on the taproom wall, and if it's a hit, we keep brewing it and we keep putting it on the taproom wall. One of our Fort Worth sales guys today brewed a single malt, single hop pale ale today. So he, hopefully it's awesome. And this goes all the way to our marketing director. She brewed a lavender wheat that flew off the shelf.
Crushed
So
it.
We're brewing some more of that. So. That's the opportunity when they say, okay, well, we need to test the waters. We're not ever just going to, gozes are popular. Let's go try goes.
which is how that whole deal. Robust palate system, and we do a lot of stuff, and we let our brewers do whatever they want on the palate system. So I'm not going to transition, but we're going to have basically 35 beers on tap for our anniversary party. So
wow, nice.
Because of us just being aggressive with our palate system.
Like instead of doing for me personally. Instead of doing a Goza, I'd rather do a beer that we're going to have on tap at the anniversary party, which is a native Texan roasted pecan brown ale. Probably wouldn't sell as well as a Goza, but it's unique.
Right.
There's not many like that. Or one of the other beers that we've done, we've got a Bohemian Dark Lager or a Scottish Wee Heavy, or things that may not be our flagship beer down the road, but our people will go, oh yeah, last time I had a beer style like that, it was from this brewery, because they just don't see them that often.
Sure.
It seems like, especially on the pecan front, like 512 here in Texas kind of took that market share early on, and other than Lazy Magnolia encroaching into the area, not many people have really touched pecan.
That's right.
That's exactly right.
So that's great.
And that's a funny thing. That's one of our recipes from homebrewers. We've had this recipe. It was actually in our business plan. It was going to be one of our seasonals.
Yeah.
We started pricing pecans.
Oh, okay.
And vanilla.
Yeah.
Here's a tip. You want to get rich quick? Become a vanilla bean farmer.
Wow. Nice.
And if you think vanilla beans are expensive now, buy a bunch and then resell them in a year and make a lot of money.
Right, yeah.
It's incredible how expensive
It's
vanilla
nuts.
beans are.
It goes up. I wish we'd have bought 1,000 pounds of them. You were going to be rich. So.
It's another way you can employ the kids is just pay them $5 an hour to go out to East Texas, just scoop up pecans.
There you go.
There you go.
So that's what you have kids for, right? It's cheap labor.
Right. That's right.
So speaking of, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, speaking of, you guys are really independent. Recently, fiercely. They released that independent craft beer label that if you meet their standards, you can use on the bottles.
Well,
so
we meet their standards.
Yeah, and we're
going
actually part of it now.
Okay, so you're gonna put it on your bottles.
Yeah, and
cans.
I don't know that we're going to do that yet, but
Okay.
we signed up and we have all the information of how you can use it. You'd have to go through label approval again to get it onto your cans.
Oh, that's okay.
But we're trying to figure out how we can use it long term. But yes, we will have a sign up on the front door that we're independent, and it's actually pretty funny. Because I was talking about this, right before they came out with that, we were on our way down to Austin for a festival, and I was talking about how breweries that are independent or breweries that are, self-distributed can promote that. And maybe we have a sign at festivals or whatever. And it wasn't a week later that he found that, and he goes, you may have been onto something there.
And then on top of that, GBA has decided to restrict their booth sales for the big spaces to true independent craft brewers, as opposed to allowing AB and Coors to
Maybe kick Breckenridge and Goose Island and those out.
Maybe not kick them out, but they're reduced.
Well,
They can't. Apparently, according to the GABF, from what I understand, is they won't be allowed to sponsor necessarily more or have the giant, booth space that they would normally get.
Interesting. I didn't know that.
That just happened the last few months. So I was kind of, since you guys are going to adopt it. So I guess it was last week. AB's craft portfolio in heavy quotes.
I saw the video.
Yeah, so they put out that video saying that, very Rodney King style, can't we all just get along?
Band together against wine and liquor?
Yeah, we got to fight against wine and liquor. So, since you guys are endorsing that label, how do you feel about what they're saying as far as we need to fight wine and liquor, not to fight each other?
Then why are they doing commercials at Super Bowl? Super Bowl commercials and
let's just keep it
making
local.
fun of us.
Let's just keep it local. Why are they coming after our tap rooms?
Mm-hmm.
Make no mistake about it. The distributors that represent those big companies are coming after us, and so, they're buying up those companies, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. Those guys, and honestly, I don't think there's anything different between. I don't. Preface this with saying I haven't done a taste test comparatively, but I don't think there's anything different between 10 Barrels beer before they were acquired and 10 Barrels beer after they were acquired. But what I do know is after they were acquired, they jumped down and now they're in San Diego and went out and bought a biggest, baddest space they could put right in the middle of downtown San Diego and trying to muscle in on all of these other little guys. That's okay. If that's the way they want to run their business, that's fine. But their parent company does a lot of things that are bad for craft beer.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
Oh.
And whatever these two fine gentlemen.
Can I have a guava good, please?
You may. Do another white wine.
Absolutely. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
I'm sure you took your bartender.
Do that.
Screw that guy.
Don't fry bacon naked. There's your tip.
Yes, sir.
So-
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So from an independent standpoint, the parent companies, the mass conglomerate, multinational conglomerates, they do things in the marketplace that hurt craft beer,
Yeah. Right.
including the companies that they own.
Yeah.
So, for us, it's more about how we choose to run our business and how we hope people choose to spend their beer dollar. Can't stop anybody, and there's nothing wrong with buying a Goose Island beer or a 10 Barrel or Carbach or a Revolver. They're great beers. It's just they're no longer local independent craft breweries anymore.
Yeah.
And if they're trying to pass themselves off as that, and I'm not them, because not the breweries themselves, but their parent companies, it's just a sham, and we don't want to be a part of that.
I had one recently that made me extremely little irritated when we were down in Austin. I'm not going to name the brewery, but it was a Illinois brewery, and they were right behind us at an event down in Austin, and they had a tap that had their name on it and had the state of Texas on the top of it.
Sure.
In their Illinois brewery, and I took exception to it and went and talked to their sales rep, and I just that's misrepresentation to me, because
absolutely.
you have people coming up that are asking, trying their beer, and they think they first thing they see is that state of Texas on the top of their tap, and they think they're a Texas brewery. Mm-hmm. They may not ask them. They may ask them. I don't know, but
Most people probably aren't.
Most
They're just
people
going to
aren't.
take it.
They're just going to take the
Just
beer
taking
and
it at face
try
value.
it.
Sure, yeah.
And I think to me that's just wrong. I'm Texas proud, and come and drink it, and your shirt you're wearing. Look, we got Texas. We got Texas on our logo, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
we're Texas proud. So that type of stuff just upsets me a little bit.
And this may be a ridiculous question, given your claim of being fiercely independent, but do you think there'd ever be a circumstance where you may even consider doing a sellout to one of the macros?
Like I said, you never say never.
Sure.
And we have fiduciary duties to our investors and to this business to do the right thing. So there's always a chance, but that's not our goal. Let's just put it that way. One of the things that drove us to do this was to have something for our hopefully have something for our children someday. I, as a lawyer, I can't hand off my law practice to my children unless they're lawyers.
Right.
And I don't wish that on anybody. So one of the things we literally talked about before we were doing this is, what's our goal? It's our goal to get as big as we can, be the most attractive brewery to be bought out, or is it just to be? And then we settled on be. Be the best we can be, do what we can do, be around for as long as we can, and be the biggest part of our community as we possibly can. That's one of the things we pride ourselves on, as being part of Lake Highlands in general. I mean, sorry, specifically in Dallas in general, doing as much as we can for the community through charitable works and things like that. So.
Yeah, I know you guys do the Dallas Dogger event every year, and so a bunch of other things. I'll see you guys around all the time doing events. Just to go back to the craft beer label, just one last thing. I was going to ask do you feel that wine and liquor, are they really a threat to craft beer? Or is it just the hype from the other side saying, we're scared?
Well,
we're scared of
understanding in
craft
that
beer.
video, what he was saying is that we lose market share the beer industry itself, including imports and domestic mass-produced beer, is losing market share to wine and liquor every year. So that's what he was saying, is like, we have to fight those guys. Well, no, when you get down into the real numbers, the only person that's really losing market share is the mass-produced beers.
Sure.
Craft beer is still growing. It may not be growing at 10%, 12%, 13%, but it grew 7% last year.
Yeah.
And it's going to grow again. But who's losing market share? The people that are buying up the craft breweries and they're putting those videos together. So we have nothing to fear from liquor and wine. People are always going to want liquor. People are always going to want wine. People are always going to want beer. The question becomes, what kind of beer do they want?
Right.
What kind of liquor do they want? What kind of wine do they want?
Plus, it's not that there's no crossover, but I feel like there's definitely people that only like liquor and only like wine.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to get some percentages of that area anyway.
Exactly. It's apples and oranges, quite honestly, in my opinion. I mean, I eat apples and I eat oranges, but I prefer apples.
Right.
Well,
right.
I'll throw my wife under the bus. If we go to a bar and they've got wine, she's 9 times out of 10
Yeah,
gonna drink wine.
same here.
Same thing with mine.
Even if,
Yes.
even if we go to, like Blatt, which is a big beer bar or something like that. Hell, if we had wine here, she'd probably drink it. I don't know. But what I'm saying is exactly what you were saying. There are people there that are predisposed to drinking what they know they like, and it's hard to get them out of their box. So that's not a person that we're recording.
Yeah.
We're courting people who love craft beer and for people who are drinking mass-produced beers but are open to trying a different style. They may not stay with it, but if they're open to try it, that's what we want to get people.
We're
to try.
never going to convert a spirit drinker to beer. I mean,
Right.
and you're never going to convert a wine drinker to beer. I mean, we're trying to convert or train people that there's better beer out there than
Right.
Miller
Yeah,
Lite, Bud Light, Coors
And in the
Light.
wine and spirit drinker, if they have to drink a beer, knowing that there's something else better out there than an American light lager, a mass-produced American light
Right.
lager.
Yeah.
Let me say it that way. And hopefully we as a craft industry get some of that.
Yeah.
We've been losing market share, but you got to think of it this way: just as craft beer has come along, craft spirits has come along.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true too. Yep.
So you get there's a whole lot more bourbon manufacturers now than there was 5 years ago, just like breweries.
Yeah.
And you got to give those guys their due as well. They're making some fantastic
killing
things.
Killing
The
it.
the upswell of just Texas bourbon alone. I mean, you see it
Absolutely.
out. Go to
Well,
Total
I mean,
Wine
you
or Specs here.
mentioned Witherspoon.
Yeah,
locally.
absolutely.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what the great thing about craft beer is. People who maybe not liquor because liquor's a lot more harsh, but wine. I think you can find some converts, and I think the white wine Freaky Deaky is a perfect example because
It is.
my wife loves like New Zealand white wines, for instance, and I think she would really like the Freaky Deaky because it's it's got the perfect white wine flavor to it. I think it's a great window
2.2
into beer
miles
for somebody.
away. Get her on up here.
Yeah, last time I had it was I guess when you guys first came out was 2 years ago
Yeah, a
at
year ago. Yeah, a year
Big
and a half.
Texas, maybe.
No, it's that's about right.
that's
It's about,
about
about,
right,
yeah.
about a year and a half ago. Or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah, because that was like my favorite beer of the
Yeah.
festival at the time.
Blur.
Yeah, I understand. So we'll just a couple more questions, and we'll move on to the lightning round. Let you guys go.
Uh-oh.
So where do you see Oak Highlands in 10 years? What's the two-year mark? So where do you guys see yourselves in 8 more years? Where do you want to be? Where do you think you'll be?
I don't know. That's a great question.
I can answer.
I mean, go ahead and you answer. Let me think about it. I mean,
I honestly think we want our sweet spot is somewhere between 10 and 15,000 barrels in production wise.
Where are you at now?
We'll hopefully do 3 this year.
Okay.
I think our distribution is, by that time, hopefully we're state of Texas, maybe a few adjoining states. I don't think, in my mind, and again, for 2, what do we know? We're young. I don't think we ever want to be nationwide, but I know our investors would like that. I'm sure. I think for us, just having a really first of all, I think in 12 years, we still want to be known as somebody who's making great beer, somebody who hasn't done something that would turn our customers off. Innovative would be a great word to describe us, but just make people who make solid beers no matter what we put out. Size-wise, I think we'd like to be, like I said, between 10 and 15,000 barrels. That's what I would think is comfortable, sweet spot for us. I hope the laws have changed and maybe we could have some tap rooms other places within where we are. But if that's the case, then that's what I'd love to see. I'd love to see an Oak Highlands Brewery tap room, just a tap room, someplace else that's not an industrial area on the outskirts of town. I'd love to put someplace where things are hopping if we could. But that's not dependent on us. It's dependent upon other people.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, I don't think we're not taking over the beer world. That's not our goal. Our goal is to grow as organically as we possibly can.
Right.
And yeah, that's what I have to say.
yeah, I think the I know the 15,000 barrel number was one we talked about for a long time. Like that is literally the number that we always used when we were talking to our investors of when they asked the same question of where do you see yourself, and I just think that's a point where you get to and you go, I don't what are we going to do from here. That covers all the bases. That gets you're making a good bit of money, and your investors are paid back and everything else, and then you just decide from there. But I mean, to go back what Brad said, I mean, honestly, this is long term. We want this to be a family deal, and we have no intentions of selling, and so that is not even in our. Personally, I would say where we are in 10 years, I'd love to have our own facility. I want it to be in Lake Highlands because we're going to stay here. This is not anywhere we're going. I'd love to have our own building that we own, that we can, operate, and that to me would be a number one deal.
Yeah, and I got to be honest though, the bigger we get, the closer we get to that 10 to 15,000 barrel range. It goes back to your questions about distribution.
Right, for
the
sure.
bigger you get, the more pressing that problem becomes.
True.
I mean, there is a natural sweet spot, at least in my mind and my analysis, where the number of trucks, the number of drivers, the number of salaries, the number of insurance policies kind of converge with the margin that the distributors will take off the top.
Right.
And at some point in time, that, from a business standpoint, becomes a viable option. Not necessarily one we will ever do, but it definitely becomes more viable than what we're doing right now.
Sounds like that even happened to your neighbors down the road here at Lakewood. You
Yeah.
know, at some
Well, yeah,
point,
for sure.
you get to that point where you got to do that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, and if you want to be, if you really, really want to cover the state of Texas properly, unfortunately, that's the best way to do it right now.
I mean,
Yep.
But at the same time, we control our own brand, right? We have our sales guys. We're controlling our brand. We don't know what a distributor's doing out there. We don't know if they're going into a bar and saying, here's the 5 IPAs we have.
Right.
Try those and choose. We can push our own beers, and we can make
And
it our own
there's-
deal. And
there's positives and negatives to both. I mean,
true.
there's
they're getting
there's
us
power
into
in
different
numbers.
places.
Yep.
And it's a give and take without a
Distributors
doubt.
can force you in on shelf space and that kind of stuff
right.
too. Sure,
You-
yeah,
you
it makes
name
sense.
it, but
Well, and
Yeah.
I will be honest with you. Some of the complaints we get sometimes is, "Hey, man, we see your rep once a week. I got an Andrews guy in here or a Benny Keith guy in here every other day." Like,
Right.
Well, okay, let's talk about that. That rep has 20 brands in your store.
Right.
Yeah, we're one brand, so.
Makes sense he'd show up more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's arguments on every way. So it's a push and a pull and a give and a take. And I just think that for us, for what we're doing, and man, it's not a one size fits all. For who we are, I'd rather if somebody has a problem with us, they pick up the phone, they dial the brewery, and they get one of us or somebody who can actually fix their problem right then instead of having to go through a couple of layers.
And that is another beauty of us is that being that we're self-distributed. I mean, we're same day or the next day. Guaranteed. I mean, we schedule stuff out, obviously, in Fort Worth and stuff, but it's, we're literally delivering the same day or the next day at the latest. So
It sounds like what
when we can.
Sounds like what the industry needs is just a craft
When
beer
we have it.
distributor. That's
They have one. It's
Do they?
Full clip.
oh, that's full clip. Okay, I didn't know they were craft only. All right.
They are craft only, and they're great.
So I think
but
Flood is too.
Well, yeah, Flood is, but Flood does some wine, I think, as well. I could be completely wrong on that. Full clip's great. They have a bunch of brands now. They started with 3 or 4, and it was great. Now they're up to 14, 15, 16, and they're doing great. Everybody who works from them is awesome. I love them. I'm not trying to say anything negative about them, but they have a lot of craft beer now.
Yeah.
And so I think they're getting into the same problems that some of the bigger guys have on the craft beer side, is that their portfolio is really, really large.
Right.
Which is great for them. They're doing fantastic. But it's like into the frying pan, out of the fire for us if we went with them or went with somebody else. I mean, how do we know that we're, like Derrin said, when they walk in and somebody says, well, I want to change my IPA up.
Yeah, how do you know it's going to be you?
Yeah. Well,
so this guy could say, this one's the best one, or this one's my favorite. And I mean, you just never know. I mean, that's how we can control it. So that's good for us.
Bring it back to the brewery and some fun things that are coming up here. You guys have your 2-year anniversary coming up on July 22nd, correct?
You got it.
Yeah. So do you have anything you guys want to promote for that or discuss around what's going to be happening that day? Or
It's over 30 beers on tap. I mean, that's
I'll tell you, every beer that we've ever made, with very few exceptions.
Very few. There's one in particular, but it'll be ready the next week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no Oktoberfest.
No Oktoberfest, but we will have a release the next week.
And no horse bath.
No horse bath.
Not this year.
Not this year.
Not this year. We couldn't get it. So horse bath was a.
Oh, I think better
Barrel
like
Aged Saison.
No, it's kid friendly. It's a kid friendly event. There will be no bathing of horse. No, we actually made a beer called Horse Bath, which was a saison
Barrel aged white wine.
barrel aged in white wine barrels, and
Yeah.
it was phenomenal. We just couldn't get it done in time.
Okay.
So.
All right. So that's on the 22nd of July here.
You got it.
So let's get to the lightning round.
All right.
Short questions, doesn't have to be short answers. You got to take off?
No, I was wondering if there's a buzzer. If we had to buzz
Oh,
in
no,
to
no.
answer the
Oh, no.
question.
It's not as lightning as it sounds, actually.
No, it's not. It's the intent, but whatever. So what was your first beer? Not necessarily craft beer, but first beer.
Oh, mine was Coors Light. My
Yeah.
dad. I mean, we were driving to a restaurant, and he was in the van, driving the van.
Oh, the
and I
roadie?
grabbed it. Actually, it was. I'm sorry, it was Coors Original. Coors Original.
Yellow
Bellies.
Belly? Yeah.
Yellow Belly. And I remember seeing the waterfall on it. And,
Yeah.
You know, it took a sip, and I did not like it. I was young, very young, but that was my first sip.
Yeah, it was Miller Lite. Same scenario. Yeah. Stole it out of my dad's cooler.
I had the same thing with Budweiser with my father, so yeah.
Okay.
That though, wasn't it Coors that used to have the sign in Dallas with the waterfall? That was the restaurant behind it.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
It was over
Daddy,
right,
something-
just north of. It was on 35, right at the toll road, just
Yeah,
north
the
of
waterfall's
the
still there,
Baby
but it's not a Coors.
Kind of
sign
by the
anymore.
AC, right?
You got it.
Baby
yeah,
Doe's.
Baby Doe's is the restaurant
yes,
above it.
yeah.
Yep.
I remember every time because we grew up in Abilene, and when I come see my dad in Dallas, it's like always a marker that we're in Dallas. Is
That was the
sign.
coolest
That was
billboard I'd ever
Yeah,
seen.
that
Yeah,
was
it was.
definitely.
Unfortunately, it's now
cool
apartments.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Imagine that.
Tore down Baby Doe's.
Everything is down there.
So what was your first craft beer?
My first craft beer was Fat Tire. Fat Tire.
Classic.
I would say Falstaff, but I think Falstaff fell into the mass-produced. But no, honestly, the true craft beer first one I ever had was a Sam Adams.
Okay.
Yeah, that counts for sure.
Back in 1990,
Yeah,
Whatever.
Yeah.
whatever it was, yeah.
I know you guys listed on the website, but I just want to make sure it's still the same. What's your personal favorite beer that you guys make?
Hypocrite. It's named after me. I am the hypocrite. It's a good story. I don't know. This is a lightning round, so we don't.
No, you can take as much time as you want.
Brad tells the story a little bit better, but hypocrite's
That's
mine.
my cue.
Yeah.
I think when we were homebrewing, I wanted to make I think the original way this originally came about is I wanted to make a pumpkin spice beer, and this was way before pumpkin spice beers were over. Like there a million of them.
Yeah.
I think there was like one or two on the market, and Derrin, to his credit, is like, God, no, we're not making spiced beers. No, we're making traditional beer
Traditional,
styles.
no spices. Yeah.
No spice. It's all right, fine, whatever. So we went and brewed something else. And the next year I said, all right, let's make a Saison. He's like, spices. So we're making a Saison. It's not pumpkin spice, it's spice. So we brewed it, and we brewed the Hypocrite. And he started drinking. He's like, man, I think this is the best beer we make. I was like, you're a hypocrite. There
you go.
He's like,
That makes sense.
That's a great name for a beer. I said, so it's stuck ever since.
Yep.
So
No spices, only barrel aging.
Damn right.
So outside of your own brewery, what is your favorite brewery?
We get this question all the time. It's hard for us to act locally. I mean, I think Petticoat has amazing beers. It's tough for us to even get away.
Yeah.
To go to different places. I just love going when I go out of town. I'll go to a different brewery and or at least try different beers when we're out of town. I'm going to Chicago in a couple weeks, and I can't wait to go to Half Acre. I've been there before. It's amazing beers, and I will be bringing a suitcase of beer back.
Try to go to War Pigs if it's open while you're there.
What's
I don't
that
know.
called?
War Pigs, the McKellar
War Pigs?
Three Floyds collaboration tap room.
Okay.
I don't know if it's going to be open yet, but
Okay.
see if it's there.
Okay. All right.
It's soon, yeah.
both
maybe.
good breweries for sure.
Yeah.
As far as my favorite brewery,
It can be brewery or beer if you have just a beer you want to pick out.
man, I will tell you that I said earlier, Salty Lady's in my top 5 beers. I think that's a fantastic beer. Velvet Hammer, I think, is a fantastic beer. I am not a huge stout fan, but Temptress is a great beer for me. We don't make a stout for a reason.
Yeah.
Personal preference for us.
Yeah.
We just don't. Not huge fans, but can respect it, and I think Temptress is great. There are so many. I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to be very diplomatic about this. Every brewery in Dallas-Fort Worth has been putting out some spectacular beer. So as long as that continues, they're all my favorites. Because I'm a firm believer in rising tide floats all ships. We still have a long way to go in this market to convert those folks that only drink AB InBev and Miller Coors products. So as long as if you're drinking a craft beer, you're a friend of mine.
And that's kind of a good broad Texas question I just want to throw in there because we've had this discussion before. I mean, Austin was the one that brought up all the craft breweries originally. That was the hub. Around here you only had Franconia and maybe Rahr. That was about it, for a long time.
Right.
Do you guys think Dallas is catching up in Texas across the board?
I think we're
I
still
feel
behind.
like it is.
We are, but I still think we're a little behind.
Behind?
There's no doubt. I mean, Austin's still way far ahead, and I think we're ahead of Houston.
I don't think so.
I think we caught up personally, but
I don't know if we've caught. Let me back up. Number of breweries, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
The beer knowledge and beer palate of the city, I think we're behind them a little bit.
I guess I was speaking of quality of
Yeah,
brewer
that's true.
more than the
Yeah.
maybe than
Okay.
the drinkers
Okay.
themselves.
So I would say if you just go back and look at the number of awards that the North Dallas breweries, or the North Dallas, excuse me, the North Texas breweries have won in the past 3 or 4 years, yeah, pound for pound, we can hold our own against anybody in the state.
yeah.
This city being what it is, I still think has a little bit of ways to go in terms of converting some of the folks that are here.
Yeah.
But I will tell you, the people that are craft beer fans in this town, when we hear from them a lot, are passionate and knowledgeable and know what's a good beer and what's a bad beer. And that's a
Right.
great thing because you can't, like I said earlier, it's no longer good enough to be local or craft. You have to put out a spectacular product. And when you don't, they let you know about it.
Right.
For better or for worse.
Right. No, it's all good. We want to know if a product.
I would say it's good, yeah.
Seriously, we want to know if a product we're putting out there is not cutting the mustard.
It's just
so to speak.
sometimes the hyperbolic comments get to me.
Well, that's fair.
You know,
sure.
that's fair.
that really brings me down sometimes, especially in some of the Facebook groups. But so speaking of the drinkers themselves, if you had something that you could plaster into craft beer drinkers' brains, like a phrase or a piece of advice, I mean, what would that be? Do you have something you would love to tell everybody or keep in mind when you're drinking a new beer or something like that?
Like you saying, like put into their heads whether it's drinking craft beer.
Like maybe if you mental billboard or something.
I mean, to me, honestly, it's just local. I don't mean local in the sense of Dallas. I mean local in the sense of state of Texas. So anyone in the state of Texas, you know, we're independent state, right?
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
And I just feel like we're getting absolutely flooded by out-of-state breweries, and that's to me, I think that is one thing that goes back to that deal I said, the Austin deal, where they had a Texas on top of their tap and it's an Illinois beer.
Right.
That type of stuff just drives me nuts. And
Right.
I don't care if you're drinking a beer from Austin or a beer from San Antonio or a beer from Houston or Dallas. I don't care. As long as it's Texas.
Go for that instead of like bells that flooded recently
You
or
damn
something
right.
like that. Yeah.
You damn right. And that's the part that kills me. And I would just I'm fiercely Texas and just want people to actually, if from a craft beer person in Texas, just buy Texan.
Right.
Sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
You said.
That's succinct. Yes.
Yeah, so like, okay, so mental billboard. I mean, I like to say that I used to make people miserable every day, and now I get to make them happy because I get to hand them beers. And so I would say, remember, and there's the homebrew phrase, relax, have a homebrew. It's the same thing. It's beer.
Yeah.
The goal of this is to provide a respite from the rest of your day and the rest of what's coming up. So remember, when you're drinking a beer, somebody put their blood, sweat, and tears into this thing, and it may not be your personal favorite, but it's still just a beer. That's all. It goes back to the hyperbolic comments you're talking about. It's still just a beer. Let's relax and hoist one and have fun.
Yeah, the one that always gets to me is people will instantly, especially on our local Facebook group, is some beer is excellent. It's like, oh, that's a drain pour. Like, really? Come on. I mean,
I like it when they review our IPA and they say too hoppy.
Of course, yeah.
It's you basically have to bite your tongue a lot of times on
You guys have a very balanced IPA.
I find myself biting my
Thank you.
tongue in defense of other brewers. I'm like, I want to like lash these guys. Like, are you kidding me? Like, it's for so many beers. I'm like, come on. Like,
Untapped's a great site, but it's given people such a soapbox to stand on, and you basically just have to walk. I mean, because we get amazing comments, and you get these ones where it's like a half a cap, and you're just like, and everyone gets
Great
it.
beer similar to
every brewery gets it, and like he's saying, it's too hot. It's your IP, too hoppy. Well, then why'd you try it, or whatever it is? And it's just it is what it is. So
I constantly get cautioned to stop looking at Untapped.
yeah,
Fair enough.
it's got to be really frustrating.
It is, but it's also
It's-
really, really gratifying.
It is.
It is amazing to see people
Yes.
to try your product and share it with the rest of that community
Yeah.
and say, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah.
It's such a worthy app. It's such a worthy thing to do.
it is. It is.
But sometimes you get a little butthurt when you get to a half a cap and you're like, half a cap? That guy just gave it 5 caps.
And it'll literally be the next person at the same location.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And your natural, I mean, as humans, your natural inclination is to like hyper focus on the negative, as opposed to get all these other negatives. And you get one guy.
You gotta let it go, man. You gotta let it go.
At the same
because
time,
it happens to everybody.
this has actually happened. There was a comment from a guy sitting at Whole Foods in Colleyville, drinking derelict, and it said it was a drain pour, and that there was something wrong with it, that it was sour, and it was like, we have to go check this out.
Yeah,
sure.
We go out there and check it out. It's perfectly fine. The lady's like, yeah, that guy's just a jerk.
Right.
Okay. Well, but still, if there is a problem,
Yeah.
that's I saw somebody posted on DFW Let's Talk Craft Beer today about got a 6-pack of another brewery's product, and they were asking the community, has anybody else had this?
Yeah.
We as brewers want to know if our product, if there's
absolutely.
something wrong with it in the marketplace. Absolutely want to know that, because the last thing we want to do is have something presented that is supposed to be our product that maybe got infected or there was something wrong with that particular can.
Could be a
or
bad tap
something.
line.
Could be
Right.
a bad tap line.
And that
Could be
happens
a
a
lot of
lot.
things.
Yeah.
We
A
want
lot.
to know about it so that we can put up forth our best beer.
Yeah,
So-
we ran into that with the Carbach Cherry Hill Fighter 6 months ago or so, and we were good friends, and it was a diacetyl
And we
bomb.
know they maintain their lines
Yeah,
really
I
well.
mean,
so,
Good Friends obviously a great craft beer place, and
Right.
you came
Yeah.
out and it tasted like a pound of butter in your mouth. It's
Yeah.
like
Wow.
diacetyl in your face.
Yep.
Poured over some popcorn.
So since you're officially Texas, also, what's your favorite Texas beer, other than your own, of course? You mentioned Lakewood and
Yeah, well, I like Salty Lady, of course. I mean, that's the third time I've said
yeah.
that.
Have you had the
You
Imperial?
are welcome, Cody.
Have you had the
There you
Imperial
go, Martin
Salty
House.
Lady?
We've literally.
I haven't seen it on the shelf yet.
Which
so-
one?
The Imperial Salty Lady.
I've had it.
So
Is it
I'll
good?
tell you one of the coolest things.
Yes, but I mean, Salty Lady. Come
Yeah,
on.
Salty Lady's
yeah.
great.
One of the coolest things that I love going to is the Texas Craft Brewers Festival. And if you guys have never been to that in Austin,
haven't.
it's coming up in September. Absolutely go to it. There are so everybody brings their best beers, and then they bring some of their rare beers as well. And there
Yeah.
are some beers that you just hands down like, wow, that is phenomenal, from breweries that you've never heard of before, because
Yeah.
you just can't get them around here. But
See, that's always our complaint about like TABC is the big festivals. Everything has to be approved, and then it can go in there unless they do a Firkin, and it seems like the Firkin's kind of the exception. So
yeah, you're really supposed to get Firkins approved too. But
Yeah, right.
Oh,
It all
do you?
depe-
Oh, okay.
It all depends on what's in the firkin.
oh, fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry. Do you want to answer that question as well?
Oh,
favorite Texas beer?
I
yeah.
don't think I answered you, but
Or whatever.
You said
I mean,
Salty
you want
Lady.
to try again? Salty Lady, Salty Lady, Salty Lady.
I mean, no lie, actually, Salty Lady. Salty Lady is one of my favorites.
Right.
Queen of the Mist actually is. It's right there with it
Yeah.
too. I mean, it's like, okay, guys, you took this beer
Yeah.
and you made it even better by barrel aging. Okay, guys. All right, so
I'm with you on Salty Lady. That's a great beer
It
for
is.
sure.
That is one of those beers that's it's so light and refreshing, and
I
it
know,
tastes
it's
so
great,
damn
yeah.
good.
and like
I'll put a plug in for another brewery, Texian Brewery, out of Richmond. They were the only other brewery that I know that did a Dunkelweizen, and it was really, really, really
Yeah.
good as well. And that's
Cool. I haven't had
going
that.
Back to your other question,
Yeah.
beer we brew. I don't know. Mine's still DF'd up. Although I'm drinking Golden Mustache because it's 97 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Sure. Yep.
Last question: is brewing more art or science?
Sart?
brewing is more art. Devising the recipe is probably more science.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, it's
I would flip
that's
that. I would
yeah.
flip that. I would flip that. I would say devising the recipe is more art. Brewing is more science, because fermentation is more science. Brewing is brewing.